Chapter 16 The Great Furnace. What now, huh? Asked Slowbad from behind Glisser. She glanced up at the goblin. What did you say? What now, huh? We got away? What we do now? Glisser stared at the goblin. She had no idea where they were or where she was going. She had had the same question before, but it wasn't Slowbad who had asked. It was... Where's the golem? Now it was Slowbad's turn to stare at Glisser. What are you talking about, crazy elf? We left Bosch back in the cult caves. Glisser could see tears streaming down the goblin's face. When she didn't respond, he continued. Cult was attacked, huh? Remember? Flying silvermen with blue heads. Goblins die, we run. Bosch stay behind so we can escape, remember? Any of it? Bosch saved Glisser's life. Again? Bosch is the golem, asked Glisser, more to herself than Slowbad. And he speaks now. Bits and pieces of her last few days swirled around inside her head. Kane's death, her descent into the abyss, Bosch's voice pulling her back. The attack, the dead goblins, Bosch taking the lightning bolt in the back that was meant for her. You left him there? Slowbad wiped the tears from his eyes and nodded. Glisser backed away from the goblin and drew her sword. The Vidalcan got to you too, didn't they? She demanded. What? No, Bosch is my friend, huh? Said Slowbad. Just like the cultists were your friends. You left them to die with Bosch. All this time you told me you were cursed, but you're the one who always lives when everyone around you dies. How does that happen, Slowbad, You're so good at getting away, at leaving your friends to die. You left the cultists to die once before. You told me yourself. Stop it, huh? You talking crazy. You don't even know what you say, snapped Slowbad. I don't? My life has been a disaster since I met you. Slowbad didn't kill your family, Glisser. Didn't kill trolls or elf friend. Didn't attack Tajna, said the goblin gently. Then who did? Screamed Glisser. I have to blame somebody. If not you, then who? Me? Is that what you're saying? That it's all my fault? Glisser's face flushed as she continued. I have a destiny, Slowbad. A destiny. Do you hear that? And that destiny is to watch everyone I love die one by one. Her breathing came in gasps. It's my fault? I say it's your fault. It's your flaring curse that's caused all of this. Glisser stopped suddenly. She was clawing for breath, and then she was crying. She tried to wipe the tears from her eyes and cheeks with her palms, but they kept flowing. She balled her hands into her fists and jammed them into both eyes as if to cork the flow of tears. It is my fault, isn't it? She whispered after a time. Attack's not your fault, said Slowbad, dropping down beside her. Attack's not your fault. Not Slowbad's fault, not Curse's fault, not Destiny's fault. It was globe-headed mage, huh? Memnarch, Vidalcans, someone trying to kill you, stop your destiny, said Slowbad, dropping down beside her. But look what I've done to your only family. It's dangerous to be around me. You my family now, huh? Listen, I live alone for a long time. Not happy, just surviving, huh? Then crazy elf dragged Slowbad from hole into danger. So Slowbad had to fight for life, not hide from it. Give Slowbad purpose, huh? Make me feel part of a family. Get Slowbad killed. Maybe. But die for a cause, huh? Die fighting evil. Die fighting beside friend. Better than living life in a hole, safe and alone. I leave cult first time to slow Slowbad, huh? I leave this time to save friend. Come, we find Vidalcan mage, or Memnarch. Whoever behind the attacks, we find, huh? Make him pay for Glisser's family, friends, Slowbad's cult family, Bosch. Glisser nodded her head. The little goblin had a way of cutting through to the truth. She saw plots of deceit everywhere. He saw life and truth. The truth was that someone was really trying to kill her. and it wouldn't stop until she made it stop. She owed it to Slobad to save his friend and his family. Glessa reached out and hugged her companion, squeezing until she was pushed away. Crazy elf. Come on, we have work to do. She jumped to her feet and headed back towards the tunnel. Where are you going, huh? Quicksilver Sea that way. Slobad pointed across the craggy hills that surrounded them towards the open lands of the Glimmervoid. The Vidalcan can wait. Our friends cannot. First we save Bosch and Dwugget. Then we make Memnok pay. Glessa and Slobad made their way through the ductwork to the Croc cult lair. Slobad led the way with the fire tube doused, Glessa following blindly, holding onto Slobad's satchel so she didn't lose him in the winding tunnels. After crawling through the dark for some time, Glessa nudged Slobad. Did it take this long on the way out? No. Taking us to the secret part of the cult lair, huh? So secret they don't even know about it, said the goblin. Another one of your personal improvements? Yes. Hiding spot, huh? See, most of the lair hide there when shaman warriors attacked long ago. No time to get others for safety. We go there now. Check for danger, huh? Good plan, said Glessa. That should bypass any guards they have left in our escape tunnel. That too. Now be quiet, crazy elf. We under the lair right now. The two crawled in silence for a while. After a few more turns, the goblin stopped. Glessa could hear him grunting. A moment later she heard metal scraping. Then Slobad began moving again. His satchel pulled her upwards until she grabbed the lip of a hole. The elf pulled herself up into a large room. She could barely see anything, but light seeped from small openings near the floor all around her. Slobad, where are you? Over here, huh? Glessa felt her way through the dark towards the goblin's voice, bumping into what felt like a table, then a chair, along the way. We spy from here, huh? Kneel down, look through hole. Hole shows hall. We're attack star, huh? Look. Glessa knelt and looked through the opening. It was the same size and shape as the cover Slobad had tried to remove when they got into the tunnels, which she suspected were the air ducts. Ingenious little goblins. Through the hole, Glessa saw an intersection of two corridors. The hallway across from her was dark. That must have been where we slept, she thought. To the right was where the goblins were attacked. Glessa could see the scorch marks on the floor and the blood, but otherwise the corridor was empty. Where are the bodies? At least 5 goblins were killed. Where did they go? Good question. Maybe Silver Beast take 'em. Maybe, but why? Dead goblins wouldn't help them find me. That has to be the right corridor, though. I saw the blood. Check the other holes, huh? Said Slobad. Glessa and Slobad circled the large room, checking each peephole in turn. There were several in each wall. Through each they saw the same thing. Deserted corridors, scorch marks, and some blood. There was no sign of goblins, hover beasts, or Bosch. Where in the flare is everyone? I think I know. And it's not good. Not good at all. Very bad, in fact, said Slobad. What do you mean? Look at this, huh? Glessa followed the walls around the room until she bumped into Slobad, then bent and looked through the hole. The corridor outside looked much like the others. Scorch marks on the walls and some blood on the floor. What am I looking at? She asked. See symbol? No. What symbol? Look at that black mark on the wall, huh? Something drawn there. Symbol, see? Huh? Glessa looked at the scorch mark again. Sure enough, there was an odd symbol scratched into the wall. The black soot from the lightning bolt almost obscured it. Even after Slobad pointed it out to her, she could barely make out the image. It looked like an eye above a mountain. What does that mean? It means Goblin Shaman here again. Come here and clear out lair. That Eye of Doom mark. Cave Shaman carved to mark unclean lairs. That can't be a coincidence, Slobad. You said the cult had stayed hidden for 50 cycles. There's no way those Vidalcan beasts and a goblin shaman found this place at the same time. The shaman must have sold out the Vidalcan, just like Geth and Strang. But why did the goblin shaman take the dead bodies? Take everyone to the Great Furnace. All metal must be returned to the clan. They're gonna burn them in the furnace? A note of panic in her voice as realization sunk in. Oh, Flair! Bosh! We hurry! No time for sneaky elf! The goblin lit his fire tube and ran back to the hole in the middle of the floor. He dropped into the tunnel before Glissa could even move. Sudden light has blinded her. Through the dots floating in her vision, Glissa stumbled to the hole, which glowed with the light of the torch below. She followed Slowbad back into the ductwork tunnels, but could barely keep up with the little goblin. She might be able to outrun him on land, but her long legs were not made for this environment. They travelled for over an hour through the twisting tunnels with the fire tube lit. Glissa could see even the strange pastures weren't all straight or smooth. It looked as if rusty metal had been banged into shape by hammers. The two passed many openings. Most of the time, Glissa could see nothing in them but darkness. Sometimes a fire tube beyond the duct would illuminate an open cavern or a small room filled with metal and tools. She saw goblins hard at work, heating and banging metal or cutting away at walls and floors of the caverns. It looked as if they were mining metal from the mountains, then fashioning it into whatever they needed. After more than 2 hours, Glissa had to stop. A cramp shot up her calf into her knee and she dropped to the floor of the tunnel. Hearing her groan, Slowbad stopped several feet on. Glissa straightened out her leg, but in the small tunnel she could not reach down to massage the muscle. Worse, the passage was getting warmer. Not much farther, said Slowbad. He came back up and sat in front of her. His head was jammed up against the top of the tunnel, and he looked at her from an odd angle. At least he can turn around and sit, thought Glissa. I'll just be a moment, she said. Why is it getting so hot? We close to the furnace, huh? Ducks take hot air to goblins, cool furnace, and heat homes. Smart. Goblins good with machines. Will the ducks take us all the way to the surface? No, said Slowbad. We can get to this furnace by a duct. Air too hot at furnace, huh? Goblins replace ducts above any furnace they recycle. Melt away. Furnace very hot. Then where are we headed? Holding pens. We find Dwugget, maybe cultists. Pens close to the surface. If not there, we too late. Gus's leg was still sore, but she could move. Lead on, she said. Soon after, Slowbad stopped at an opening on the floor of the tunnel. He pushed the cover out, then pulled it through the opening, placed it in front of him, and shut off his fire tube. Glissa could see the silhouette of his head as he leaned over and stuck it through the opening. Nobody here, he said. Safe. Come on, huh? Hurry. Glissa followed him through and landed in the corridor, lined with rusty cages. Fire tubes at the end of the corridor provided dim light. Most of the cages were empty, but one held about a dozen goblins cramped together. The companions crept to the packed cell. Dwugget! You in here, Dwugget? Called Slowbad. Here! Oh, here, my son. Is that you, Slowbad? It me. Come to get you out, huh? Set you free. How do you get away, little Slowbad? Asked the cult shaman. He pushed his way out to the rusty bars. Dwugget wore what Glissa assumed must be shaman robes. The goblins, what amounted to a leather jerkin that hung to his knees instead of a simple loincloth. Why did you come back? It's very dangerous for you here, huh? I tell you, we come get you, me and Glissa, my friend. Golem help us get away. Now we set you free, huh? This all that lived? Yes, the dead were already taken to the great furnace. May Krark lead them to the mother's heart. What about Bosch? The golem, where is he? Dwugget looked over at Glissa. I'm glad to see you're awake. Slowbad was worried about you, huh? You were in a dark place. Now you return to the light. It is the mother's will that you live. Does everyone know more about my life than I do? Wondered Gusser. She smiled and nodded at the shaman. The golem? She asked again. Of course. Sorry, your metal man was taken with the dead to the furnace. We are next for the fire. Slowbad turned and started towards the other end of the hall. Slowbad, where are you going? Save Bosch! Be back, huh? Glisser ran after Slowbad and grabbed him by the shoulder. We can't leave them here, they'll be killed. Won't let them melt them down, huh? They will not make a boiler or a ductwork from Bosch, huh? Glisser released him and patted him on the back. Go find Bosch. I'll get Dwoggett's people into the duct, then come find you. Slowbad opened the metal door, which creaked horribly as it moved. He peered out the doorway for a moment, then slipped through. Glisser turned back towards the cell, pulled out her sword and moved forward. Stand back, she said. Massive golems inched away from the bars as best they could. They huddled against the wall, whimpering. Glisser stepped back and gauged the distance. She swung her sword hard towards the iron bars. It sliced through 4 bars, coming to rest just inches from Dwoggett's head. Glisser swung the sword again, aiming low. The iron bars clattered to the floor, leaving an opening large enough for the goblins. Quickly, she said. This way! The remaining cultists scurried into the opening of the duct. Glisser lifted Dwoggett into the hole and held him there as he scrambled through. One by one, she aided the rest of the cultists. Replace the cover and move down the tunnel. Wait for us to return, and for Flair's sake, stay quiet. The elf ran down the hall, grabbed the fire tube, and opened the door a crack to look out. The heat from the next chamber slammed her in the face like a stiff wind. She fought for breath in the stifling heat as they slipped through the door. Glisser scanned the chamber beyond the cells. All the lair areas she had seen so far had been goblin-made. They were small, square rooms that had been made of hammered metal fused together. This chamber was altogether different. It was a huge circular cavern hundreds of feet across. The walls were made of iron that had not been hammered. They looked almost like intertwined tangle trees. Tubular veins of rusty iron grew from the floor up to the ceiling high above her, snaking back and forth through each other. Fire tubes were jammed into crevices between the veins here and there, but a majority of the light as well as the blasting heat came from the furnace in the center of the room. The furnace looked like a massive knot of iron tubes, growing from the floor of the chamber. Hundreds, if not thousands, of the iron tube veins came up from the floor, intertwining, branching, and reaching up at least 30 feet. It was around as big as Tal Jalad, the Tree of Tales. Smoke and fire belched from the tops of the tubes at irregular intervals. Most of the room was bathed in a red glow from the fire and rusty iron, but the ceiling was pitch black from Flair knew how many cycles of fire. Glisser stood above the floor of the furnace chamber. The door she had come through was carved right into the tube wall. There was a hammered path in the uneven floor leading down to the furnace. Paths had been levelled throughout the chamber. Some of the paths looked like ledges or bridges spanning a dark trench. She could see goblins moving around performing tasks. But it was almost impossible to distinguish Slowbad from any of the other goblins working around the furnace. That's one advantage Slowbad had here, thought Glisser. He can blend in. She dropped to her knees to avoid being spotted while searching the cavern for her friend. She spotted a golem with a satchel amidst a large pile of debris near the back of the chamber. Many of the goblins had satchels, so she couldn't be sure. They all looked so much alike. But this goblin seemed to be looking for something in the pile. She looked around to get a better view. As she got closer, Glisser saw the figure lift some debris and toss it aside. Underneath she could see something large. The goblin tossed shards of metal aside to uncover more. Glisser crept even closer, until she could see the large object was Bosch's chest. The elf looked for a way down. A path led to the furnace floor, over near the pile, but Glisser decided to stay hidden, and not draw attention to Slowbad. She would watch for danger from above. With any luck, Slowbad could activate the golem and ride it out before any of the other goblins guessed what was happening. By the time Glisser arrived at her new vantage point, Slowbad had uncovered most of Bosch. Guess I realized that the golem was in pieces. Worse, several goblins seemed to have taken an interest in Slowbad and were heading towards him.